Hello and welcome to a new video, which is basically just me talking about which I think is the best class trinket for each hero. Now, do keep in mind that like the best class trinket is really just like competing against other class trinkets. It's not about like comparing like class trinkets to neutral trinkets. So there's like going to be a lot of heroes where like all their class trinkets kind of suck. So I just picked the best one of them, and I wanted to talk about those a bit. Obviously, like for most heroes, like a lot of neutral trinkets are probably going to be the best options, but there's certain heroes where I just wanted to like yap about the class trinkets a bit. Now, let's get right into it. Let's talk about A-Bomb. This one's very, very easy. Like, this one is not even close. It's Broken Key. This thing is one of the best trinkets in the game, I would argue, because it costs basically no shards. So you can basically always get this after Miller. You have to do like the first farm set mission, and you have to do the Miller mission, and then you can already always buy Broken Key if you do like Thing. I think you also get enough after just like doing the first Crimson Court, or not the Crimson Court, but the first Color of Madness mission, and then you go into like a mission, you fight Thing, you get enough shards, and you can get Broken Key. The stats on this are just ridiculous. 15 accuracy, that alone would be good enough, but it also gets 35% stun chance, which is like just insane. And the best part, it doesn't even have a downside. Plus 10% stress on A-Bomb just straight up does not matter. Because you have Absolution, so you can just sit there, you just heal off all your stress anyways, and 10% extra stress to heal. That's like one use of Absolution. You don't care. And nothing else is really competing. There's like a few good ones. Lock of Fury is good. 3 speed for like basically no cost is pretty good. And Panic of Transference, just 20% stun chance for, and like 20% blight chance for no downside. Also pretty good, but they are just nowhere near as close to like Broken Key, because this thing is just insane. Now, Antiquarian. For her, there's also like a few options, but I'm gonna say it's probably Fleet Florent. This thing is really, really strong. 4 speed is a huge upside, especially for someone as Antiquarian, because she really wants to set up as soon as possible in the round. Either if you are like setting up Protect Me on like someone else, or you are setting Invigorating Vapors just to like make sure that your team is dodging. Like Flash Powder is great to go before your damage dealers, just so you can like clear that stealth, and obviously the minus accuracy only takes effect if you outspeed enemies. It helps the damage because Blight being applied before the enemy takes an action obviously makes that action a lot better, because otherwise like you just deal 1 on it damage and then like next turn it deals like the blight. But if you do get like the blight a turn before that, you get like 1 extra tick, and a large part of this is obviously the blight, so you kind of like lose a lot of damage if you don't get to outspeed enemies. Aside from that, the 20% debuff skill chance is just really good if you want Flash Powder, even if you don't have Flash Powder equipped. I would still consider Fleet Florent just because of that 4 speed bonus. There's like a few trinkets in the game that give plus 4 speed. Fleet Florent is the easiest accessible. The other ones are like Baron Slash, which is only if you have Crimson Curse, and the other one is the Shrieker's Tail Feather, which is obviously very rare because you have to find Shrieker first, and he has to like show up with his event, and then you have to like specifically roll into like one of the 4 trinkets he can offer. So very difficult to find, but Fleet Florent is just easily accessible. It's really, really good. Now, there's an argument to be made for like Master's Essence and Smoking Skull. Both of these trinkets are very good. Master's Essence just gives her like everything. Like it gives her healing skills, blight skill chance, debuff skill chance, just skill chance for everything. Extremely consistent. But I just think I should say Fleet Florent anyways, because Fleet Florent just is accessible super, super easily. With Master's Essence, like, either you are giving up like your first Croc reward, which feels really bad, because Master's Essence really isn't as good as some of the others that you could get instead, and otherwise you're just kind of gambling and hoping that you get Master's Essence, and the accessibility of the stringers is just not there compared to like Fleet Florent, and yeah, that's kind of like why I don't want to put it above it. But you could definitely argue Master's Essence, this does a lot for her. Smoking Skull is in a similar vein. It's a really, really strong trinket. 35 dodge from a single trinket. That's really strong. Because, like, the most dodge you are most likely going to get from any trinket, like on any hero, is, like, at max, like, plus 15 very often. Like, you are barely getting anything past that. There's like a few trinkets that give like plus 20, like for example the Ash Installation from Plague Looter, but 35 dodge is unheard of. This is ridiculous. Of course, you have to have Shard Dust, which is obviously not something you have on every mission. But if you really want to like bring Antiquary into like something difficult, like for example for Siren, if you want to like make Siren really consistent, Smoke and Skull is a really good option. And all of this, like the minus accuracy and the minus blade resist, does affect you at times. Like especially the minus accuracy. Blade resist is kind of whatever, because you just dodge everything anyways. But the minus accuracy can hurt. So either you can just unequip this during like the dungeon and just be like, yeah, I just won one less trinket slot, but I get a really consistent like boss fight out of that. Or you can just like play Endocrine very defensively, where like you just really don't attack, you just kind of sit there, you just press Invigorating Vapors like a lot, which becomes very viable later on. Like early on it's kind of like bad because 3 dodge and everybody's like eh, but later on like 10 dodge, 9 dodge, like that's really, really strong. And that's usually when you end up getting Smoke and Skull anyways, because it costs a lot of shards, and usually your first shards really want to be into Broken Key, because that's just much, much more important for A-Bomb. And I mean, if you don't like playing A-Bomb, then I guess you could get this instead. But there are like a few other options I would probably consider over this, because it's more of a niche option, because you do need that Shard Dust. And that's kind of why I think like Fleetthorn is still like probably her best class trinket, but you can make an argument for Blaster's Essence if you just ignore like the accessibility, and you could make an argument for Smoke and Skull when you just go like pure peak, because the peak of Smoke and Skull is really, really high. It just requires like a lot of investment and specific scenarios to be really good. Now, Arbalest. Honestly, like, for her, it's probably Keating Bolts. And Keating Bolts is extremely expensive. 170 shards for this is a bit difficult to justify, unless you obviously want to like grind. Like, technically, it doesn't take anything to like grind all of the endless trinkets, but nobody wants to do that. So if you have 170 shards, there's probably better options. But it's Keating Bolts. This thing is just not very accessible. It's like an okay damage trinket. 20% damage is good. 7 crit for range skills, that's good. Just a solid offensive trinket. The unattacked self plus 3 stress, you don't care about this. You crit once, this downside just doesn't exist. It's really that simple. The reason I'm picking Keating Bolts, even though it's like very inaccessible and it's just kind of like an okay damage trinket, is like the rest of her kit is kind of like not all that. Like Childhood Treasure is like good, like it's okay, like plus 30% healing skills, minus 15% stress, sure. But again, it's not very accessible because it's a Crimson Cord trinket, and very often you are not giving up your set or like first trinket for this, because this is not it, to be honest. So you're just like gambling on this being available. And even if it's available, it's kind of like, yeah, you just really want Ancestor Scroll over this, just because like you can swap it out at camp, it's more flexible, and you can swap this around. Like, sure, you get plus 50% healing skills at camp, but like, what are you using that on? Field dressing? That shit heals like 100% anyways. Like, triage? Like, it's just always enough healing, so like the plus 20, like this plus 50% just doesn't do that much. Minus stress is kind of good, I guess, but that's not really like something you really care about. And the other one that I wanted to mention is Medic's Graves. These are actually very good. You could argue that it's Medic's Graves because they are more accessible, and you are most likely going to find these every run. But I would argue that like plus 33% healing skills, like eventually you want to move out of this very quickly. Junior's Head is kind of a lot better just because like you can swap it around, and like the plus 20% stress is not really that big of a downside. So this usually ends up being like an early pickup. It's really good early, but like later on, usually want to have either like offensive stuff on her, or you want to like have specifically Ancestor Scroll, because that one is just swappable. You can move it around between heroes, and it's really, really good for that. And Medic's Grave just doesn't get that, and that's kind of like what holds this back. So I'm gonna go with Keating Bolts. Again, this is not a good trinket, in my opinion. It's just like, yeah, it's okay, just a perfectly solid offensive trinket, and that's kind of like where she caps out. Bounty Hunter. This one sucks ass. Because a lot of this stuff, it sounds really good on paper, but it just kind of falls flat compared to Hunter's Talon. And this thing is like, it's like the most like basic ass trinket. Like all of his trinkets feel like really cool, like Crime Lord Smallers, Kill List, like all of these feel like really fancy, they have like a good idea behind them. And then there's just Hunter's Talon, which is just Focus Ring. This is just Focus Ring, with no downside. Like, because as it says here, it only increases food eaten at camp. It doesn't like increase the food eaten at hallways. So basically, the moment you camp, you take the slot where like your food, where like your camp was, you just take the Hunter's Talon, put that in the slot where your firewood was, and then boom, downside removed. And then you just get better Focus Ring, because Focus Ring gives 10 accuracy, 5 crit, this gives 1 extra crit. And that's kind of why Hunter's Talon is his best trinket. It helps every build of his, because 10 accuracy, 6 crit. That's just really good stats. Especially considering it has literally no downside. And there's like some other pretty good stuff in here, like Kill List is very useful because of that plus 50% move skill chance. Like if you want to move something, like for example in Champion Warrants, like with Swine Scalper, Kill List, looking pretty good. 15 accuracy as well. Hey, like support Bounty Hunter, Flashbang, guaranteed shuffle, guaranteed pull, like hey, that's not terrible. So definitely something to consider. Kill List is very good. Try not as well as if you want to set us up, sure, it's big damage, but you know what's going next to big damage? It's just Hunter's Talon. And Master of the Talons is also really good. 2 speed, 15 dodge is just really, really good stats, especially considering it has literally no downside. Like, plus 5% stress is non-existent. Like, you don't care about this. Master of the Talons is also, like, really good, but it's just not as, like, applicable as Hunter's Talon, in my opinion, because it's just better Focus Ring, right? So, this thing is absurd. It's a bit hard to get at times because it only spawns in Warrants, but Nomad Dragon helps that a lot, and if you find this, it's probably just like best in slot for him in like pretty much every build. Now, Crusader. Honestly, it's Paralyzer's Crest. I already know. Paralyzer's Crest, this doesn't seem very like, it's very unassuming. It gives you 20% stun skill chance for like 2 dodge downside, which is like just a good trait. It makes your stun better. But that's kind of like where his good trinkets end. Like, none of this is like really good. Commander's Orders can be good, but very often like Ancestor's Scroll just exists, which kind of just does the same better. Obviously, if you want to be really safe, you want to like solo heal with Crusader as like a first time. If you don't know like much about soloing, if you're just like starting out in the game, then this thing can be very good. You can run Commander's Orders like Ancestor's Scroll together. You can run like this plus Junior's Head. You just get like plus 60% healing, and you just heal for really big numbers. Then Commander's Orders can be good, but usually like the minus 10% damage downside does hold it back a bit, because Crusader's damage is quite good. And obviously like Ancestor's Scroll just kind of does the same, but much better. And like the other stuff like non-Euclidean Hilt, I guess is good. Small issue, this thing costs 200 shards. You are not getting 200 shards. Like, come on now. You are not playing Endless for that long. Fuck that. At least not me. If you want to like ignore the accessibility of like having to spend 200 shards on this, then you can be like, yeah, non-Euclidean Hilt is better, because by like pretty much by default it's just better. It gives you 5% extra stun skill chance, 50% max HP is like okay. The random target really doesn't matter if you are playing up front, because you have like 2 targets. You don't really care. So on attack, the blight doesn't matter. This part is like completely useless, because 120% blight skill chance on champion missions, most likely. Not happening. So yeah, it's just Paralyzer's Crit. Extremely accessible, just a good stun skill chance trinket. Everything else in his pool just kind of sucks. Flagellant. Horrible trinket set. I'm gonna give it to probably Shard of Glass, which might be a bit weird because this thing is like complete ass. And yes, small issue, everything in his like other options for Flagellant in his kit are even more ass. Like this thing, your heals heal for nothing. It's like Eternity's Collar, yup cope. Suffering's Collar, yup cope. Punishment Hood, yup cope. Resurrection Collar, cope. Helper's Hood, cope. Like half of these trinkets literally make your hero worse. Like I would rather have an empty slot than any of these trinkets. Except maybe like Eternity's Collar, because technically this thing has like no downside, and like Suffering's Collar, because these things have like quite literally no downside. But they just don't do anything. Like none of this exists. This is a 10% max HP trinket. That's the ring. What is any of this? None of these trinkets make any sense. So it's gotta be between Chipped Tooth and Shard of Glass, because both of these things have a use case. Chipped Tooth, this thing is good into like counters, because it gives you like a big amount of move resist. The 20% max HP is actually pretty nice, because it's like the biggest HP increase you can get, to like make your heals much higher. So it's good for that. Shard of Glass, if you just don't care about Reclaim for whatever reason, if you have like a Plague Doctor next to him, and you just want to like guarantee bleeds for some reason, like for example in Cove, you can kind of run this, because Plague Doctor is pretty much like omnipresent in Cove, so you can run like this in Cove, guarantee your bleeds against like the shamans there, and just like guarantee them, because they do have that increased bleed resist, so Shard of Glass can be good for that. Would I recommend doing that? No. You could just run like the like basic, like the green one. The green trinket that gives you like 20% bleed skill chance and 20% bleed resist. That one's pretty good, because you don't lose Reclaim. Because this thing basically makes you like reliant on Plague Doctor or like any other bleed cure, aka like 1 more billion bandages also work. But if you don't have that, you basically don't get to run Reclaim, which is probably his best skill. So yeah, Shard of Glass, pretty bad. But it's his best trinket in my eyes. You could definitely argue Chip Tooth, because it's just like more generally applicable, but none of his trinkets are good, so. Grave Robber. This one's actually surprisingly difficult. You would not assume this, because Sharpened Letter Opener is just ridiculousness. 25% damage, 10 accuracy, 5 dodge. Like, this is insane stats for one trinket. But I want to highlight Lucky Talisman. This thing is 12 dodge, 10 accuracy on like pretty much your entire kit. And the advantage of Lucky Talisman is that you don't really care about like melee accuracy necessarily, because if you look at Lunge, like 95 base accuracy, Pick to the Face 90 base accuracy, like 95 base accuracy is the same as like Arbalest. So you could technically argue that, oh yeah, you don't actually need accuracy on Lunge. You can just kind of like raw dog Lunge and just hit stuff anyways. And then you can run Lucky Talisman as like your sole accuracy trinket, because it's just an above average dodge trinket. Like 12 dodge, 10 accuracy, that's just really good stats. And then you can like put into your second slot like maybe something that gives you like 5 accuracy. You can run like a Moon Ring or a Sun Ring if you're playing Highlight, that kind of stuff. So like maybe give Lunge a bit more accuracy, and you can maybe even run like Surgical Gloves, which are really good. Just a dodge trinket as well. So, but Lucky Talisman is really good. But if you are being serious, it's probably Sharpened Letter Opener, because this thing is just insane. Like, it gives you every stat in the book. It's so good offensively. It's good defensively as well, because it gives you 5 dodge for some reason. And yeah, like, it's Sharpened Letter Opener. This thing is completely overstated. But I do want to highlight Lucky Talisman. Use Lucky Talisman. This thing is good. Alien. You can go 2 ways with this. If you're assuming Torchless, it's very obviously Hell's Hairpin, because 10 crit 15 accuracy for 10% bleed and debuff resist is a very worthwhile trade. This is insane in Torchless. But if you are assuming not Torchless, then it's definitely Thirsting Blade, because it gives you 15 accuracy and 2 speed. Like, getting 15 accuracy with manageable downsides is extraordinarily valuable. Like, yes, you lose bleed resist with this, but you get speed back, you get even more offense, and on attack miss, you lose 5 HP. Why would you miss? I don't know. Like, that would just never happen. Like, this is absurdo stats. Because this basically says 2 speed, 15 accuracy. And I would equip a 2 speed, 15 accuracy on most of my heroes, because I equip Ancestor's Pistol. So yeah, this thing is really, really strong. Like, there's some other good stuff in here, like Heaven's Hairpin is like a solid accuracy trinket. Hell's Hairpin, obviously, if you are in Torchless, you could say this is her best trinket, but most likely you are not, so is Thirsting Blade. It's a bit inaccessible. 120 shards is quite a bit, but it's so good that, like, if you have the mind to, like, grind endless, this is probably, like, your second or third pickup, because it's just so strong. If you just don't want to, like, play endless at all, like, out of her, like, other stuff, like, pick between Hell's Hairpin and Heaven's Hairpin, depending on if you're playing Highlight or Torchless. Because these two are, like, the best ones. Otherwise, like, Lioness Warpaint, it's just okay. Very inaccessible. Mark of the Outcast, it's just okay. Very inaccessible. And all of this just kind of sucks. So yeah. Highwayman. This one is another one that's, like, pretty difficult to choose, because there's, like, 3 good options. There's actually 4, if I'm being honest. Like, Gunslinger's Buckle is the first one. This is, like, basically enables a full playstyle by itself. Definitely try a Ranger Hammerman. 20% damage, 15 accuracy for basically no downside is really, really good. Like, this is absurd stats, especially considering how good his range skills actually are. Because pistol shot is like a pretty good skill. Like, it has minus 15% damage, but it has that insane crit chance, so it kind of makes up for that. And obviously, like, great reach, great usable ranks, just very, very flexible. Really good damaging skill. Grapeshot Blast is also like surprisingly good if you have Gunslinger's Buckle, because suddenly that below average accuracy actually becomes like usable, because you just get plus 15 accuracy on top of that, right? And then it actually does start seeing good damage as well if there's enemies that don't have prot. This thing hits really hard if you have Gunslinger's Buckle, and Open Vein just kind of doesn't care about like its under damage that much. It hates losing the crit because it makes your bleeds like slightly less reliable, and losing that top range of like getting 5 turns of bleed is obviously like a bit painful, but it has the accuracy to not need its own accuracy trinket, so this is like not that big a deal. Like, the downside doesn't really exist for Ranger Highwayman. Now, both the Crimson Cord sets are just really good trinkets. 2 speed, 10 dodge, 10 accuracy, 5 crit, just really good trinkets. Like, both of these are just like, yup, good stats. That's what they say, basically. Same with Crystalline Gunpowder, 20% damage, 3 speed. The minus stun resist kind of sucks for specifically, like, Duelist Advanced Highwaymen, because if you get stunned, your post just gets turned off, which really hurts. But Crystalline Gunpowder is really good. Pairs especially well if you run Gunslinger's Buckle, because then, like, the entire, like, stun resist, oh, you lose riposte, doesn't really affect you that much, because you just don't put up riposte anyways. But yeah, like, you can pick any of these 4 trinkets and I'll be like, yeah, probably fair, but in my eyes, it's Gunslinger's Buckle, just because of how much it enables. And both of these trinkets, like, technically you can replace them. This is just Focus Ring. This is just, like, slightly better Feather Crystal, and with, like, the downsides removed, but Gunslinger's Buckle is just insane stats. It obviously has a cost, and you don't want to run as on Torches, because getting shuffled kinda sucks, so yeah. But Gunslinger's Buckle, really good. Don't sleep on this thing. Definitely try Ranger Ironman if you haven't already. Just press Pistol Shot. It's quite viable. Now, Hornmaster. This one is something. Like, there's so much here. Like, let me take a drink first. I gotta, like, cheers to Hornmaster's good trinkets, man. So, Hornmaster. You could say Scouting Whistle, honestly. Like, this thing is really good. It's basically like mini-map, Ancestors map, which is one of the best trinkets in the game. Just 20% scouting, 20% trap disarm. Obviously, you have to be in Torturous. If you are in Torturous, this thing is completely worthless. Except, like, early on, when you, like, actually want to, like, equip something that gives you plus 20% trap disarm chance, but, like, that's not really, like, a big upside, right? And if you're in Torturous, this is amazing. Otherwise, it's kind of just mediocre. Cudgel Weight, really, really good. 25% stun skill chance is just really good stats. -1 speed kind of sucks for him, especially if you want to, like, be fast with your stun, because that's kind of like the point of stuns. So Cudgel Weight kind of works against itself, but it has so much of an upside that, like, it's probably worth it. Evidence of Corruption, this thing is insane. 25% scouting chance is really good. You never get surprised with this thing, especially on Highlight. Better Lawman's Badge, just 15 accuracy. Pretty, like, good secondary stats. The minus stun resist and minus debuff resist kind of suck for him, especially the stun resist because it makes him drop his guard, but generally still fine. And yeah, that's kind of it. Like, you can pick either of these 3, and I would be like, yeah, fair, because all 3 of them are just, like, really good trinkets. They all have, like, their downsides. Like, Cudgel Weight kind of has, like, that minus speed. It's like, eh. And Evidence of Corruption is kind of like, yeah, you could just bring Map instead, because Map is more flexible. Repetitive Lawman's Badge is kind of like, yeah, but you could get Pistol instead. And it's just like, yeah, true. So that's kind of like where, like, a lot of these trinkets are. They are really, really good. But there's always, like, that one extra option that's just kind of, like, a bit better. But if that option is already taken up, you never mind, like, taking one of these options. So that's kind of, like, where this is. You can pick between either of these 3. In my opinion, it's probably Events of Corruption, just because of scouting so much, and I have terrible map luck. I always get it last, so getting a scouting trinket like this is just really good. Now, Jester. This one's gonna be infuriating to some people, because I'm picking Tyrant's Fingerbone. This thing. I'm sure you forgot about this, because nobody ever remembers Tyrant's Fingerbone. Now, why am I picking Tyrant's Fingerbone? Solo Jester. This thing is absurdo for Solo Jester. 20 dodge, 3 speed is basically what this reads. And that's a really good stat line. Like, that's really, really good. And it's just very fun to play with. It's like the best dodge trinket for Solo Jester, because 20 dodge. That should explain it. And you are in rank 1 most of the time anyways, unless you have someone else who like wants to move in front of him, like for example a Shear Breaker or something, but in that case just don't run Fingerbone. And otherwise, like, his trinkets really aren't all that. It's pretty much just Fingerbone that exists. Because the rest of this is like, yeah, Critical Dice is pretty good offense, but the rest is just like, Bloody Dice kind of sucks. Like, minus speed resist on your very fragile hero. Not that good. Lucky Dice is just okay early on for accuracy 4 dodge, sure. But you very often have like really good accuracy anyways, and you can often get better than 4 dodge. Critical Dice is just good offense, but Bright Tangerine, this thing sucks ass. You don't care about like the extra stress healing, like this is not impactful. If you really want to like have extra stress skills, you get Ancestor Scroll because you can swap that around. Bright Tambourine doesn't do that, it's just like minus stress on the hero with the best single target stress in the game. Why? Plus 20% stress skills, sure, but just prevent that stress instead by getting like a dodge trinket. Dark Tambourine, abysmal dog shit, I don't have to explain this. Titan Tasting Cup, same thing as with above, you don't care about stress skills that much. Plus 25% stress, why would you take this? Dirge for the Devoured, kind of the same thing, it's like 25% stress skills. Yeah, do you really care? No, not really. 25% damage if Laudanum's inventory, sure. But very often there's just much better stats, because if you are playing Ballad Jester, just get speed, get neutral dodge, and just like get Battle Ballad up quicker to like make sure that your heroes are getting maximum value from that. If you're playing Solo Jester, there's just much better defensive trinkets to equip. So yeah, like all of the plus stress stuff just really doesn't matter. That's why I'm picking Terra's Fingerbone, because this is like the only thing that actually does something for him. Every other trinket in this kit is just kind of like, yeah, I guess Critical Dice is good. Now, Leper. For Leper, I'm picking Berserk Mask. This thing is not good. Like, I wouldn't call it like good. I would call it perfectly serviceable as like your second slot trinket, and Leper kind of struggles with that. Because the only case where you can really run Berserk Mask, or any trinket that isn't a very specific few on Leper, is when you have accuracy quirks, because you always obviously want an accuracy quirk or accuracy trinket on Leper if you don't have an accuracy quirk, because it makes Chop more consistent to like kill frontliners, it makes Intimidate more consistent at hitting backliners or just everything, and your other slot that isn't accuracy is always taken up by Debuff Amulet. Like, Debuff Amulet is so good for Leper, it's not even close. Like, there's no trinket I would pick over Debuff Amulet for Leper specifically. It's by far his best trinket, and it's his neutral trinket, so it's a neutral trinket, so it's not mentioned here that much, but you always want that one. So the only place where you can get in something like Berserk Mask, or any of these trinkets for that matter, is basically if you have an accuracy quirk, like on Leper, like you have Corvid's Eye, you have like Natural Swing plus Natural Swing mainly, or you have like Hot to Trot, or like just really good accuracy trinkets. Then you can run like Berserk Mask Debuff Amulet, which is actually pretty good. 8 crit 3 speed is pretty good upside, especially that 3 speed helps him a lot. It makes Intimidate a lot faster, which is quite valuable. It helps you like de-stealth enemies. It just allows you to outspeed the enemy front line, which is also good. 8 crit, just good upside. This downside, you don't care. Like, reasonably, your Nebula is not afflicting because you have Solemnity, you have Reflection at Camp, you don't care about this. Minus 33% healing received, you are Leper, you don't care. And that's kinda it. Like, all of this other stuff is just like acceptable, but if I had the option, I would pick Berserk Mask over them. Like, Immunity Mask is like okay defenses, Fortunate Armlet is like okay early, but very often gets outclassed by like any accuracy trinket. Redemption Armlet kinda sucks, Healing Armlet is like okay, like a lot of the stuff is just okay. But Berserk Mask is like, actually, like, maybe you can run this, and it becomes quite good if you actually have that second slot open next to Debuff Amulet. Now, Man Arms. For him, there's also a lot of options. Rampart Shield is the first one I want to mention. 40% move skill chance. That doesn't seem that good, but 30% stun skill chance. Let that sink in. 30% stun skill chance. That's really good. And it makes Rampart uber consistent as a stun. It puts you like at that 170 breakpoint, which is just 10% or 15% below like A-Bomb, and 10% below like Occultist with just Demon's Cauldron. So that's a pretty good stun. And especially if you consider how like useful Rampart is in general, just like it repositions you, good accuracy, deals solid enough damage, It moves stuff back. It's just very, very flexible. It helps you a lot. So Rampart Shield is just really good. The downside kind of sucks. Minus 50% damage does hurt Man-at-Arms. Because Crush is actually like pretty okay damage. Like his damage is not bad. 5 to 9 goes up to 8 to 14. It's around that like Highwayman range where like it about deals the same damage on hit as Highwayman. Obviously he's not a great damage dealer because you can't hit rank 4 with him, so it's kind of like yeah, but it still hurts him quite a bit. But it's usually not that big a deal because it just makes Rampart so much more consistent and very, very useful because of that. Now, the next one, Guardian Shield. I kind of wanted to touch on this. This is probably not his best one. This is not really like a comparison. Like, Rampart Shield is just much better than Guardian Shield. But I want to mention Guardian Shield because this is actually like really good in the right circumstance. 10 dodge, 50% healing received, 10% prot. That's really good defensive stats. There's like Wolf, this is really good. For counters, you can make this work. Just a really, really good defensive trinket if you really just need the guard from him, which doesn't happen that often, but if it does happen, this thing is the one you want to pick up. And otherwise, all unit standard is also just like a good trinket. I kind of wanted to mention this alongside Rampart Shield. It gives you like everything that he kind of needs. Stun skill chance, debuff skill chance, and this stuff doesn't matter, but it gives you like a nice mix if you want to like have both a bit of Rampart and a bit of Bellow, which very much for me is quite useful because I tend to play that a lot. I always have Rampart on, I always have Bellow on. I place both of those skills about the same amount, so I really like old unit standard. And Rampart Shield is just better if you just want to focus on specifically Rampart. And if you don't want to focus on Rampart that much, you just want to focus on Bellow, then you have Debuff Amulet, which kind of just does the same thing. But this gives you like a nice mix of both. It's like a nice middle ground. It's kind of like, do you want to go Rampart or do you want to go Bellow? And if you can't decide between either of the two, just go your old unit standard. That's kind of where the trinket is at, and that's pretty good. And Mirror Shield is also like worth a mention. It's just a good dodge trinket, 10 dodge, 20% stun resist. The stun resist makes your regards more consistent, which is quite usable. It's just a really good dodge trinket, and it makes it so that like your other heroes can have like the second dodge trinket. If you want to like run a heavy dodge team, Mirror Shield is usually on them, not because it's a very good like specific dodge trinket. It just gives you 10 dodge, 20% stun resist, but more so that everybody else can get that dodge. Now, Musketeer, I kind of talked about. Occultist, I'm not even gonna click into this. It's Demon's Cauldron. I guess I click into this just to like show the trinket if you didn't understand me. But it's Demon's Cauldron. This thing, like, yeah. It gives him 30% stun skill chance. That alone would be enough. 40% debuff skill chance is just ridiculous. It gives him 3 crit on top to make all of this even more consistent. This downside doesn't matter. The 10% virtue chance, you probably don't afflict with Occultist that much because he's critting so much. Plus 50% stress just gets offset by the crit. So, it's Demon's Cauldron. It's not even close. Demon's Cauldron is one of the best trinkets in the game. And obviously, like, his best trinket. Plague Doctor, same deal. This is also very simple. It's always Blasphemous Vial. It's not even close. This is one of the best trinkets in the game. Gives 10 accuracy, 20% stun skill chance, 20% blight skill chance. It does have a downside of 25% stress taken. But, like, look at these stats, man. Like, this gives you everything. This gives PD every stat you could ever want. And, yeah, I would like to fix every stat need that my hero has with, like, one trinket. That's fine. And the plus stress taken just really doesn't matter that much. Because most of the time, both enemy stress stealers that are in the back just get stunned immediately by Blinding Gas. So, they straight up don't attack you. So, it's always Blasphemous Vial. Now, Shieldbreaker. This one's also very difficult because all of the trinkets suck. Like, all of this is just, nah. Like, you never see me use any of these. These two, nah. Spectral Spear Tip, nah. Like, none of these are usable. So, because of that, I'm giving it to Dance's Foot Wraps. Sue me. It's Dance's Foot Wraps. That's the best trinket. Because it gives you 2 speed. And that's the strength level of the Shieldbreaker trinket. That's how bad it is. Everything else sucks ass. Don't use any of the trinkets. Just use Dance's Foot Wraps if you have literally nothing better. This is like good if you get like the 3rd Nightmare and you have like nothing. And that's kind of it. Like I think like you get the first 3 Nightmares on Apprentice. Okay, it's just not showing that. Got SMH. there's the nightmares. Let me show this off. Like, this one sucks ass. This one sucks ass. If you manage to get to encounter number 3 on Apprentice without, like, any good trinkets yet, if you have, like, still early on, you have nothing, then Dances for Traps is a good pickup. But very often that's not the case anymore, because you have to bring her 3 times into a mission with camping, or, like, which... And then you have to, like, roll the 50-50 every time, which just isn't happening that often, so... Like, most of the time you get Dances for Traps at, like, the, veteran level, and at veteran level, like, you just don't care about, like, a +2 speed trinket anymore. Because at that point, you should have something like Feather Crystal, which just does way more for you. You should have, like, better defensive trinkets, like Camo Cloak, all of the, like, plus resists. Fucking Barriston's Head is good, so it's just kind of like, yeah, Dances for Traps just kind of, like, falls to the wayside. You should have better offensive trinkets as well. Like, you might have Candle already, you might have Crescendo Box even, and those just do way more for you. So Dances for Traps is just, like, okay early on, but it's the best trinket because the competition is not really stiff. The one thing I wanted to mention, because I know people are gonna talk about this, it's Spectral Spear Tip. This thing sucks ass. Why? These stats, not impressive. You don't care about this. These stats, 15% damage, 15% max HP. Yeah, sure. They are, like, okay. Like, they are solid, I guess. And that's kind of just, like, a mediocre upside at best, right? Like, you would... Like, 15% damage, that's not a trinket you equip. 15% max HP on Shieldbreaker specifically, with a very bad max HP is like, eh... You don't really care about that much. And this downside. 5% random target. Really bad with Shieldbreaker. Really, really bad. Do not use this. This is the reason this thing sucks. Because Pierce and Puncture have Omni Reach. So, and how random target works is that, like, it only picks from, like, the targets you can actually choose. So Pierce targets, like, all 4, and Puncture can target any 4. This includes corpses. So with a 5% chance, you pass your turn. That's not good. You just get Imposter Syndrome for free on Shieldbreaker. Sure, it's not as bad because you still deal the damage, but very often, if you hit, like, into Bone Rabble instead of, like, Bone Noble, it's like, yeah, you basically passed your turn. And that's kind of where, like, this really struggles, because Shieldbreaker needs to hit very specific targets, and having a 5% to just not do that is quite bad. And especially considering that, like, this upside is just very mediocre, and you can definitely get something that just gives you better upside. Like, just get Candle. I would prefer 5 dodge over 15% max HP. I would prefer 2 speed over, like, all of this. So that's just a straight upgrade. Like, there's obviously, like, Moon Ring if you're playing Torchless, Moon Cloak if you're playing Torchless. Like, even Sun Ring kind of does more. Surgical Gloves. There's just so much stuff that does more than this that, like, you never care about Spectral Spear Tip. This thing is really bad. Just because it makes you so inconsistent, and the upside is just not worth the downside. Now, Vestal. Yeah, I got nothing. I'm gonna say Salacious Diary. It's a bit of a cop-out answer, just gives you, like, 25% healing skills, and this thing kind of falls to the wayside the moment you find Ancestor Scroll, unless you have the other part of the set, because then you can actually, like, sometimes run the set together to get that plus 35% stun skill chance, but otherwise, like, her trinkets just kind of suck. I don't think I have to explain why. It's just, like, Salacious Diary gives you a good upside with no downside, and has the potential that if you get this, you can maybe get the other part to get 35% stun skill chance, and that's kind of it. Like, this thing is also not special, it's just okay. I would always prefer either Drina's Head to swap it around the camp, or Ancestor Scroll also to swap it around the camp, and just, like, doing more in general. So, yeah, like, that's kind of it. And, yeah, that was all the heroes. If you enjoyed the video, you can leave a like and subscribe. I'm gonna put up the winners, I suppose, of, like, the best trinket, like, up there again, like I did with the skills. And, yeah, if you disagree with me, you can come to my Twitch channel and yap at me there. I'm gonna be taking on all your arguments, especially the ones for Sacred Scroll, because I know people are gonna be mad about me saying that Sacred Scroll sucks ass, which, hey man, I'm just saying the truth. That thing sucks balls. And if you want to find out more, hey, come to my Twitch channel. Also, I'm gonna make a video about, like, the worst trinkets soon, so you can look forward to that, because the last 10 minutes we'll be talking about Sacred Scroll. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. If you want, you can leave a like, comment what you want to see next from me, and yeah. Have a good day.